guys, it's Brittany and I am so freaking excited for this video. I am really hot right now, I'm sorry. I am like sweating, but okay. A lot of you guys were asking if I've watched the Demon House film by Zak Bagans, who is my idol, my paranormal king, my dream collab, like ultimate dream collaboration. He is my freaking idol, guys. You guys know, like I want to be Zak Bagans. I want to be just like him. I think he's amazing. He inspires me all the time to just keep going after my dreams. I freaking love Zak Bagans. So when I heard about the Demon House, I mean, this has been, like, he's been working on it for 3 years. And it finally came out. I feel like I am slightly late to making a video about it. So I guess I will start at the very beginning. So, you know, when the film first comes on, there is a warning and it says the following documentary may not be suitable for all audiences. This film shows real people, places, and events involving alleged demonic possession. Demonologists believe that demons can attach themselves to you through other people, objects, and electronic devices. So as soon as that gets off the screen, you see Zak Bagans, and it's a voiceover. He's saying, "Hi, my name is Zak Bagans. I'm one of the world's leading paranormal researchers, that he's investigated over 1,000 hauntings over the past 13 years as he's been investigating, and how this case is the case that effed him up." He doesn't just say effed. He actually says F-U-C-K-E-D. This film, or not this film, this like whole experience at the Demon House, this case effed him up. So, you know, Zak is talking about how this case is basically the next Amityville case. He was super pumped about it because it was his, you know what I mean? He had all these resources, he had a whole camera crew, it was gonna be a documentary, it was gonna be amazing. He was looking forward to it. But during the filming and everything that went down was totally different than what he expected. And that's what I found very intense and crazy about this whole film. You know, he had a camera crew, people dropped out of it, people got ill. Zak actually got ill. He apparently wouldn't leave his room for 8 days after this because it just affected him so much. There were people that, you know, came to the house. One person had an accident on a bike, another person fell down. But yeah, so crew members, they put on the spot. There were witnesses and experts that ended up in the hospital, you know, because he had people going into the house with him, or even just when Zak was interviewing people, you know, something weird would happen. There was a girl that almost committed suicide. So getting into kind of how this all started, how this all came to be. So back in 2014, Zak had this nightmare. In this nightmare, Zak was a spirit and he was hanging out with other spirits. He was showing the spirits how he could move an object on a table without even touching it. So, you know, I guess it started off really cool, like, wow, this is different, you know, like I'm a spirit, I'm hanging out with other spirits. But then it just kind of went insane. The nightmare then flips and he's standing in front of a door and he just lost all control of his body. The door opens and what he sees is a 12-foot goat figure standing in the doorway. There's this black smoke that's coming out of his mouth and Zak was forced to inhale it. And when Zak woke up, he felt pain in his chest and he thought to himself, you know, there's something more to this nightmare. It's not just a crazy nightmare, even though, you know, I've been an investigator for all these years. I've, you know, investigated all of these haunted places. There is a deeper meaning to this nightmare, and there definitely was. So a week later, he heard about this haunting going on in Gary, Indiana, in this house with a demon, and he was really, you know, looking into it, and he eventually, well, not eventually, he bought the house right away. So during this documentary, you know, of course the family moved out and, you know, Zak bought it and he was trying to find the family members so he could interview them and that they could be a part of the documentary. So this family moved into that house back in 2011, and right when they moved in, that is when all the craziness started. They would hear footsteps, they would see shadowy figures. There was just this anger and this dark presence in the house, and it was affecting the children the most. There were also black flies that were all inside the window, you know, during the winter months. So it's just crazy, you know, demonic signs that, you know, you hear about and what people have experienced. So it was definitely something demonic. I mean, obviously it's called the Demon House, so it's creepy. So this demonic presence was affecting the children the most. And I wrote down the children were having dark conversations about death. The family doctor just kind of passed it by as having delusions, and it was just The children had an evil look about them. They were acting evil, totally out of character. Also too, I want to add in that there's reenactments during this documentary, and the reenactments are scary AF. So these kids, they started getting super violent. They would say some crazy, scary, creepy stuff, just totally out of character. And the scariest thing to me was one of the boys walked backwards up a wall. He said something to someone in his family, his back was facing the wall, and he walked right up the wall backwards. And you know, in the documentary they're showing a reenactment, so you could see, you know, kind of have an idea of what went down. And there were people in the room, you know, there was like the psychologist and a few other people as well who witnessed it. Like, can you imagine seeing that? That is so terrifying, especially just seeing how violent this child was to his family when they're just trying to help him, and the things that were coming out of his mouth, and then he walks up the wall backwards. And after he walked up the wall backwards, he had no memory of what just happened. Even, you know, 5 minutes after it happened, he had no memory, you know, like, what? I never walked up the wall. So that, I have chills right now. That is very terrifying. It just seems like, you know, the majority of people who would enter this house would be affected in some way. Police officers were called to this house numerous times, and I even wrote down too that police officers that have been called to the house over the years would quit their jobs. Just quit their jobs. Something made them want to quit their job, and sometimes they would even move far away just to get out of the town, you know? So it just seems like everybody who enters this house would have some kind of effect when they left, and it just almost never left them. So later on in the documentary, Zak then points out, you know, this could very much be a hoax, and there's people who think it is. I think with any famous, you know, paranormal case, demonic case, there's gonna be that group of people who are like, that has to be fake, that is a total hoax, they're only in it for the money, the fame, they're a bunch of liars. And Zak did question it, which I think is great. I think you should always question it. And one of the main reasons was because the family would not talk to Zak. They did not want to talk to him. They wanted nothing to do with him. They wanted nothing to do with the documentary. They thought since Zak was, you know, the new owner, and since he's already been in the house and then he was trying to contact the family, that whatever was in the house latched itself onto him, and they just wanted nothing to do with it. They didn't want it to affect them again. But then there were talks that this family were talking to somebody about a movie deal. You know, a movie that was going to happen about their experience. So they're talking to someone about a movie deal, but they're not going to talk to Zak Bagans, who's trying to figure out what really happened in this house, you know? So that's when he's just like, okay, you know what I mean? And then other people were telling him, oh, they're only in it for the money. When I was in this house, you know, nothing happened. Maybe I heard some creaks, but you know, it's an old house. Old houses make noises all the time. So, you know, he's kind of taking it in and stuff, but you know, I think it's good to always question things, because as you guys know, as I always say, I have become such a skeptic. I'm the biggest believer in the world, and I have to constantly say that because I don't want people ever thinking that I'm not. I believe in this stuff. This is my passion. I love it, but I've just gotten a lot smarter over the years with it, and I think it's great. You have to be a skeptic, and then once you experience it, or, you know, I guess, I don't know, that's like a totally different video. Girl, I got a lot of like deep videos coming up. You will see in the documentary that Zak kind of went, you know, it affected him. He started getting kind of violent with Jay. He told Jay to get the F out, and he was kind of pushing him up against the wall, and he just kind of freaked out at him, and he didn't really know what happened, and he thinks, you know, it was the house. That he would have these little outbursts. Like, he was in the basement and he almost attacked this guy. Like, he kind of flinched, you know what I mean? Like, he was gonna go, and then he walked away to get away with him, because he knew like something was kind of controlling his body to attack this man. So yeah, so Zak yelled at Jay, get the F out. And like I said at the beginning, you know, people who were in the house and would leave, there would be accidents. Someone had a bike accident, somebody fell, there was a girl that stabbed herself trying to commit suicide. Just really insane. And then apparently 666 was carved into this girl's back. One of the parts that I found really creepy was the cameraman. His name was Adam. He was just filming, and you see this black mask come out of the left-hand corner of the camera, and it's almost like, it looks like a hand at first, and it's just kind of, you know, in the frame, and then it goes out and it's like this thick black mass. And they were reviewing it, You know, it wasn't the cameraman. Now, going back to the cameraman, his name was Adam. A few hours later, you see in the documentary that he's kind of acting a bit unusual. He had to lie down, and then you see him walking down to the basement by himself and just kind of being a little odd. So that night, when they got back to the hotel, Zak said that Adam started vomiting blood, like violent vomiting, and of course vomiting up blood. He was screaming, freaking out, and it's all on camera. You can see it. They're standing in the hallway of the hotel. Adam is just like hitting the walls. You know, he goes into the elevator, he's freaking out, he's yelling at something and, you know, calling it a B word and just being, you know, he's not even talking, there's nobody there, and he's just going completely insane, and especially in that elevator, and it's really disturbing to watch, but I'm really glad that they did capture that on camera. I mean, of course, they're filming a documentary, so of course they gotta capture that. So after, you know, Adam kind of calmed down, they're filming him, and he's kind of talking about what happened, and going back to Zak's nightmare in the beginning of this video, in the beginning of this documentary, when he says he saw this 12-foot tall goat figure thing standing in the doorway looking at him, Adam said he saw the goat man in the elevator, like this huge goat man, and Zak never even told his nightmare to anybody. So I thought that was really crazy. So at the end of the documentary, Zak then decides that he wants to board himself up inside of this house. He wants to be completely alone. You know, they were actually boarding up the entire house, so Zak cannot get out. You know, they're drilling. He cannot escape. And one thing that I really found very relatable to me, and something that, you know, is why I love Zak Bagans, he says, "I know this sounds stupid, but the investigator inside of me wants to experience it." And that's when he was about to go into the house by himself, completely boarded up, and nobody was going to be with him. He was all alone. And just when he said, "I know this sounds stupid, but the investigator in me wants to experience it," I was just like, heck yes. That's why I think Zak Bagans and myself are meant to be partners, because I have the same mentality. You know, I could do, some of you may think it's stupid for me to do things that I do, but I do it because I want that evidence and I want to experience it for myself. And I don't know, he just really inspires me, so I just really liked when he said that, and he actually, like, you know, acknowledged that people think that he could be crazy for doing the things, like, you know, when he touched Annabelle on Ghost Adventures, I probably would have done the same thing, or maybe not, but because obviously they didn't want anybody to touch Annabelle, but I don't know, I like that, so I just wrote it down because I just thought, wow, so relatable. So what I loved was this documentary really kept my attention. It wasn't, what I really loved about it, it wasn't just like, oh my god, did you hear that? Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't, oh my god, no, I didn't get that on camera, no, I didn't see that, you know? It was very serious, and I found that's what made it very eerie. Just the seriousness about it. And I mean, you know, during investigations, especially because this is a very dark one and it's affected this family tremendously, you know, you can't just be like, oh my god, we're going to the demon house. You know what I mean? So my attention was totally on the documentary the entire time. I never wanted to look away or take a bathroom break or go grab a snack. Like, I sat there and watched the whole thing, and I loved every second of it. What I didn't like about it was, and it's not even a big deal, I wish there was more investigating. I wish that it just went on longer. It's kind of how it ended was, well, it ended with, you know, the house being demolished and everything. That was the ending. But when he caught that EVP, though, of that female voice saying, "That's my baby," you hear it clearly. And, you know, he's in the house by himself, so he heard it and he was like, oh my god, you know, so it was very clear. So I guess you guys want to know, which I think I've kind of made it obvious, whether I recommend it or not. And 100%, especially if you are a fan of Zak Bagans, you're a fan of, you know, his whole career, Ghost Adventures, you know, and of course if you're just into the paranormal and stuff. But I just found it was very interesting, and just kind of, you know, the documentary style I really like. And, you know, I just said that I was completely into it the whole time. You know, I never wanted to take a bathroom break. I never wanted to, you know, get a snack or something. I was just so invested in it, and I just thought it was very well done. What's scary is it's a real life family, and it's not a horror movie, and it's real events that happened. So it kind of freaks you out. Well, not kind of. It freaks you out watching it, and just know that hell is real. It definitely is real.